Are we good to go? Are we cooking with gas over here?
I'm recording.
I've just started.
Excellent. I guess we can't hear how Packy's like Tucker.
Good. Yeah, let's lead with that. That's what I want to talk about today. Me and the Tuckster.
Hey, everyone. This is Jetpack Swords, a casual games podcast. I'm your host, Greg, and I'm joined by your co-hosts and my wonderful friends, Packy the Tuck Carlson and James. Sorry. I don't know how the fuck we landed here. I think Packy wants to make money off his voice. So
I want to make money off my voice. And the first thing Greg thinks of when he thinks of people who make money off their voice is Tucker Carlson. That's right. That jumped right to the top of his head. I just want to throw that out there.
I think it's because I just saw the article, like literally a few hours ago, scrolling some feed of that's his Twitter show or whatever. I think that's why. It was the most recent thing I had seen. Normally I don't think
Landing
about
on
him.
his feet. I wonder if Tuck plays video games. If he likes Game Pass.
Fuck that guy. That's all I gotta say. Fuck that guy. Anyways, video game related news. Anyone got any video game related news? I have nothing. Got zip, zilch, zero, nada.
I know there was stuff, but I don't remember. So we're gonna go to IGN.
Well, so Redfall came out. Actually, Redfall came out before we did our last one, which, by the way, last week we had on our friend William. Excellent guest. I don't think we actually explicitly said it last week, but that dude was in the top 100 rank of Halo Wars 2 3v3. Fucking insane. Absolutely incredible. Like, I've never been that good at a video game. I don't think I ever will be. And I'm okay with that fact. But that's incredible. So if you didn't listen to last week, go listen to it. It's good.
Never
but yeah,
been
so
top 100. The scrub.
I mean, you've probably been top 100 in Rivals or
That's
like close
exactly
to it.
the one. And for those unfamiliar
I
with
was
that
gonna say
game,
because no one
it's
fucking plays it.
tiny. It's so small.
Yeah.
I was top 100 when it just like barely came out of beta, and boy, did I now. It's funny. I went on probably like a month and a half, 2 months ago, just when I just had my PC and I had an Xbox controller, and all my stuff is getting packed away. I was just like, I'll try it out. Like, I know people still play. I'll go give it a try. And it's not like I did horribly, but some of the people I ran into who beat me made me look like a child. Like, I've never felt they were doing stuff I never even could have imagined when I played. And it was so fucking
that's
insane.
classic fighting game, right?
For
like,
sure.
You go online and then you're like, it's the classic meme, they're like, I'm gonna venture outside of my comfort zone, and then you get fucking punched in the face and like the box becomes bigger and you're like, I'm never leaving my comfort zone box again. That's fucking classic fighting games online, right? Like,
I think it's all
down to the fucking letter.
Fighting games just make it feel. Actually, I'm not even sure it feels the worst. It certainly is the most like obvious, right? Because they literally are just hitting you the whole
fucking
time.
worst.
You can't do anything.
It's straight up you can't.
I
do
make
anything.
an argument
That's why
for
it feels the worst.
RTSs. Dude, I have never seen I had a roommate who was he was like platinum pushing diamond in StarCraft 2 my junior year of college, and there was nothing. I've never seen him in a worse mood than when he was in the middle of a loss to someone who was way, way better. He was like, I can do nothing. I know he's better. But as opposed to a fighting game where that shit's going to wrap up pretty quick, it's like, this is going to play out over the next like 20 to 30 minutes of me just getting cooked.
That is true, but he could just surrender in that case, right? Like, if he truly knows it's a lost cause, just fucking surrender. Whereas, like, you can do that in fighting games too, but the reason I think they're worse is because, like, depending on how bad it is, you will literally not be able to input anything into the game.
Yeah,
I mean, you will be trying, and nothing will happen. You literally cannot play in those really, really bad fighting game scenarios. Whereas, like, in RTS or other games, like, like, yeah, you're going to get dick stomped and it's going to be awful and embarrassing, but like, you at least get to do something, like literally anything other than like, I'm pressing buttons, but nothing's happening because I'm in this like fucking, 0 to 100 combo of like, and it's just like, well, cool. Fuck me, I guess. Right. Like, that's why I think fighting games are the worst, right? Like they're the worst pinnacle example of like, I'm going to try out online play and then you get punched in the fucking face, and you're like, never again do I leave my comfort zone. That being said, I still like them. Obviously, I love them. They're super fun to play, but I feel like they do have that like huge disparity gap between the best of the best and the rest, right?
Every game, I think, especially 1v1, has that like curve where once you get to the top X% players, like they're just kind of stratospheres better than everybody else. But fighting games, especially I think the platform fighters, like the Smashes of the world, and Rivals is one of those. The curve starts very early, like, and it just goes. It's one of those they talk about all the time with the second Smash game, Melee, that iteration. It's like the guy who, your friend who, you know, beats you without him losing a life, gets equally shit stomped by a guy who goes to tournaments and doesn't win a game, and gets shit stomped by another guy who gets shit stomped by who makes it, you know, like a little bit into the bracket, who gets shit stomped by another guy who makes it to like the top 8 or something, who gets creamed by the guys who actually have a chance of winning the tournament. Like it goes all the way up where nobody has any chance of beating the people in the next tier.
There's so many levels. It's a fucking onion. You can't peel the onion, and there's still someone better than you.
Just hurts.
What was the highest you think you ever got in Rivals?
I know it was like 92nd or something.
Jesus fucking Christ, that's amazing. Which does, for those who don't know, this is referring to Rivals of Aether, platform fighting game. It's actually a pretty good game. I mean, it wasn't my cup of tea, but like I respected what it was for the people and the size of the team who made it. Right? Like it was solid, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
James,
to see.
Yeah, no, go ahead, back. Sorry.
No, let's get off of Rivals. I need to not talk about Rivals.
Yeah, as I say, so like, I mean, because we talked about it some, and like we've talked about, I think briefly, like the best I ever was at a game was Cho'Gall and Heroes of the Storm. James, what is the best? I don't think we've talked about what is the best you feel like you've ever been at any game at any point in your life?
I don't think there's been a time. Maybe I don't think there's been a time.
Nah,
I was
like,
gonna say
even
maybe
if it's not like
SWAT matches in Halo Reach. I was really good for a while.
I was gonna say, it doesn't have to be top 100.
No,
Fuck
I know,
these guys in their
like,
top
there's
100.
There's
like...
no way that I'm also not a competitive person, so like I just do not have the drive for that. But I know for a while in Halo Reach, I was really good at SWAT. But that's it. That's all I got.
Man, do love me some SWAT. And that's probably like a friend Matt who've talked about that. That would, you know, I would wager that would be his. That or N64 Smash would be his. Like, this is the best I've ever been in a game. Like, mine's definitely Cho'Gall. Close second would probably be Modern Warfare 3, the summer between high school and college. Right?
God.
Like, that was
Forever ago.
That was those were the like I put the like Major League Gaming like gamer like profile picture on it, right? Like that was that excellent, not cringe at all period of my life, right? I was like, I could go pro. I'm so good at this. I go pew 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 pew. And yeah, that's it for me. That's all I got.
That really are Cho'Galls in your top, maybe your top one? I figured in, I guess it's just, you play game. It's all about like playing smaller games, right? Like,
yeah,
which is William and I got good at our games. Like, I feel like the competitive scenes, definitely obviously the competitive scene for my game was incredibly small. And I don't feel like the competitive scene for Halo Wars is like massive, like it is for a Call of Duty.
It's definitely not. It's still impressive, but it's not huge.
Of course. Yeah, I just think, you're just limited by the games that you've chosen. You know, nobody's gonna hit top 100 unless you dedicate your entire life to the game.
And like James, I don't wanna like I don't wanna be that good, or like I'm like not. I'm sorry. I guess I put words in James' mouth and said he doesn't want to be good. He said he wasn't competitive, and like I get like a little trash talky competitive, but like I don't want to be top 100 in a game. I don't want to play that hard and try that hard, especially not at this point in my life, right? Like even Cho'Gall, like we talked about, it was fucking quick match. It wasn't fucking, it wasn't ranked. It was fucking quick match, right? Like, this is fucking casual shit we're talking about here. Like I can never imagine getting top 100 in any ranked game ever. It doesn't matter how small it is or how much I love it. I just don't think that's ever me.
I think I knew it is I specifically like playing out the games to get there, especially when you get close. Like it sucks all the fun out of this game you supposedly love, of just all like you are so upset. You're so incredibly upset if you lose, and then if you win, it's just this very momentary relief before like, all right, I climbed a little bit further. Now I need to go a little bit further. Like it's just not doing it nearly as much for you. And the games, especially in 1v1 games, like obviously people are being incredibly sweaty. They're doing everything they possibly can to win, and it sucks a lot of fun out of the game. And I think that's true across all competitive games. I think there's very few that manage to still be very fun.
Well, so here's actually an interesting thing I just noticed. So everything we've talked about so far, these have all been player versus player games. Like, I mean, it's climbing a leaderboard, but it's climbing a player versus player, competitive leaderboard. Have either of you done like a, PvE leaderboard climb, right? Like whether that be like how high can you get in a season of Diablo 3 or anything like that?
Never once. I never even look at the records when that's publicly available when I'm playing a game. Like it'll just frustrate me.
You're probably, like number 5 in Borderlands Science. If there's a leaderboard for that. There probably is a leaderboard for that, actually.
There is. There almost assuredly is for that type of game, and I'm positive I'm not even like top 10,000.
I don't know if we talked about it. But if we didn't, I'm gonna throw a shout out to it, even if we did. I don't give a fuck. I thought it was really cool. Borderlands 3 is this thing called Borderlands Science, and it's just a little mini game. And they basically like gathered a bunch of data from some fucking like research thing or whatever, and they made a game out of it to basically do a thing. I don't know. It was cool. Well, go look it up. If you thought it was cool, like the idea of like playing a game and contributing to science, quote unquote, go look it up. I thought it was really cool. That's all I got.
And there's more to it. It's not just like contributing to science. It's like, I think it's something that helps with the research of genetic diseases, maybe.
Like it is a very directly good cause. It's not just Borderlands 3.
It was specifically genetics, because the things are gene pairs, I believe, or something like that, or exactly. Binding sites. I think they're binding sites of some amino acid on some shit. I don't know. Some of our friends who are smarter than us could probably, know what that actually is, but I don't.
Yeah, we have 2 friends who do genetics research who have directly explained it to me before, and I've entirely forgotten. But there's a phone app for this. That's all I wanted to say. That like you don't just have to play Borderlands 3.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, we've talked about like companion apps for games and how I wish like WoW, for example, had the battle pets as a phone game and stuff like that. And like I was thinking like Borderlands Science. Is it Borderlands Science, or is it just the same thing? Is it the same like
same
underlying
thing?
Research?
It's not tied.
Oh, see, they should have fucking made the thing so I could play Borderlands Science on my phone and help out some genetic research shit while simultaneously getting, brain currency power to unlock increased legendary drop rate or something. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, but that's really cool that there is a equivalent thing that still contributes to the same cause, like that gamification, right? I mean, it's gamification of research, right? Which is really cool. Crowdfunding research, basically, right? Like kind of similar things. There are the not quite the same, but there's obviously those programs you can sign up to like run a program on your computer in the background. Just when you have idle CPU, it just runs, and it like I think it like simulates folding proteins or like analyzes.
PlayStation had that. It was called like Fold
did.
at Home back
on
when the PlayStation
console.
Home was a thing. I don't know if y'all remember that, but I think that's what it was called, and it was the same thing.
Damn,
PS3?
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, PS3.
See, nowadays, if a game were to do that, it's like a 50% chance that they would just be mining crypto coin and they'd just be making money off you.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with services like that, is that plenty of them use it well, and then you just need a couple bad actors. And not that that will become representative of everyone who's doing it, but people will get wind of that and stop using it in droves. But I'm a little surprised there's not more games that are trying to attack problems in that way. Like make little puzzles as one of your pace breakers and then send that data along to a research institute wherever it applies. Because I feel like there's more opportunity. There seemingly is more opportunity.
Like, I mean, you could even, and this would be so dumb, but honest to God, I'm surprised this isn't a thing now that I'm about to say it out loud. So for those who don't know, CAPTCHAs, right? Like the whole "I'm a human" thing online when you're doing something that requires verification, and it's just like click the pictures that have stairs or motorcycles or lights, or type in the letters here. For those who don't know, all of that is used to train ML models, right? Like all those big fancy things that keep being in the news recently, all this AI stuff. When you fill out CAPTCHAs, that's being used to train these models, right? It's using humans, crowdsourcing. It's referred to as labeling, right? Like you tend to have a data set, and you label the data set, and you try to label it with good known values, and then you train the model so that it says like, oh, this thing is labeled as a motorcycle, so I look at other similar things and I know it's a motorcycle. For anyone who didn't know, that's what CAPTCHAs are. I am fucking surprised CAPTCHAs are not a thing in a game, right? Like as like a fucking unlocking a chest or something stupid, right? Like exactly what we were talking about, one of those pace breakers, right? Like imagine, I'm trying to think of where this would work, maybe, right? Like maybe Mass Effect. I don't know. Like you go to unlock a chest in Mass Effect and it's some digital thing and you have to literally prove you're not a fucking robot or something, right? Like it's fucking like, I don't know. I'm surprised it's not a thing because I think you're right. I think you could easily take real world problems where crowdsourcing it out to hundreds of thousands or millions of people would be beneficial, and make some silly little mini game up for it and then shove it into your thing as, like you said, a pace breaker, right? Like one of those little puzzles. I feel like that would easily work. And so, yeah, I'm surprised it's not been done.
Just good marketing for a game, and also you as a game developer get to do a good thing, which is very good. But I'm surprised Borderlands 3 did not it definitely got into the news a little bit, but I'm surprised it doesn't do more to be like, hey, we have submitted all of this data through our game.
Yeah, I'd love to see the outcome of it, right? Like, I feel like that would be really motivational for the people who spent time on it, and obviously the developers who put it into the game and everything, to basically show that, like, look, this really had an impact, right? Like this is the tangible effect of what you did, right?
Okay.
Whereas like CAPTCHAs, I mean, the closest thing to a tangible effect of a CAPTCHA is like self-driving cars, right? Like that's probably the closest thing to a tangible effect we have from CAPTCHAs is self-driving cars. That and OCR, right? Like I said, the what does this thing say? And you pick up the whatever's like optical character recognition is also probably a notable outcome of that. Like the fact that you can take a picture on your phone and it pulls out the text in the picture is super handy, super fancy, cool, love it. And yeah, probably a result of tens of years of CAPTCHAs. So I was gonna say, so PvE leaderboards, I feel like the closest I've ever done to that is probably a rhythm game, either Rock Band or Beat Saber, right? Like that's the closest I've ever got to trying to climb a leaderboard. I mean, Susie definitely did it in Beat Saber for a period of time, at least.
I was going to say, climb a leaderboard or follow far behind in Susie's wake. Similar concepts.
I think she did it at I need to just have her on, actually, because this one might go on for her, because she's super fucking competitive.
I was going to say, it'd be crazy.
Her unhealthy levels of competitive.
She probably more so than I think William and my accomplishments in our respective games. Like, I think her high scores are probably the most impressive of individually in a game of anything, because she had some crazy scores on the highest difficulties, right? Like she was competing against another guy in a very real way.
I think so. I definitely want to say she was doing a lot of the songs on Expert Plus. I mean, there was also they also then released like a pack at one point that like the songs in that were just like stupidly difficult, and I think she was out of practice at that point. She's like, I actually have trouble doing these on Expert Plus. But no, there were definitely a couple songs that I mean, she was definitely like pretty high up there on the leaderboards. I mean, not like, I don't think top 100 still, but like very high up there. She also she does Duolingo, on her phone. For those who don't know, it teaches you a foreign language, quote unquote. Duolingo is 100% gamified, right? Like that's the entire premise of it. And apparently which I don't do it, so I'm also speaking off what I've heard. So if you know better, correct me. Anyways, if I recall correctly, there was this thing where it's basically like, standard stuff, leaderboards, right? And it's other people. And it's basically like, there's a point where like she was literally like, I have to play as soon as my thing resets. Again, because she's unhealthily competitive almost. Not almost. She is. I love her. She's wonderful, but unhealthily competitive. And she's like, I have to play as soon as my thing resets because like I'm in this competition with this other person to like be the top of the leaderboard for the day or the week or something. Because then you get something, I don't know. And so like, you are familiar with this?
Yeah, I've actually used Duolingo. I'm curious what language she's learning.
Spanish. She started with something else, and I was like, dude, you want to go to Mexico? Fucking like do Spanish. Like
that's why I like learning a language with like a goal in mind. I tried Japanese. I still learned it a little bit, but man, I don't think it's the hardest language to learn audibly, like hearing it and then like learning how to actually speak it. But if you've written in Roman characters, you are literally learning to read and write from scratch with how their character system. Off topic. Leaderboards are they're also stratified by where you are within learning the language, but especially in the lower ends, like it's really competitive because that's where most of the people are. But you don't get anything. It's not like she's competing for a meaningful thing. It's just like you get a little gold badge next to your name. I don't think you win anything.
That's fucking sounds about right. To be honest, I don't know. I think it was like maybe she like accidentally happened into it once, and then like because she happened into it once, she was like, oh, I gotta do this again. Or something, something like that, right? It triggered that. I mean, it literally, gamification is super fucking effective, right? Like, it triggers that goddamn dopamine part of your brain. And it's just like, ooh, but look at that shiny gold badge I just got. I could get another shiny gold badge.
Duolingo does it incredibly well. They know how to play the little noise that makes you go, ooh, I did a good job. And they, like, give you points and especially punish you for missing stuff. Like it is have a good way of incentivizing you to do it every day.
Really do have lizard brains, don't we? Straight up, just lizard brains.
Oh yeah. It's a crazy phenomenon to be able to recognize that and still have your lizard brain be mercilessly abused.
Yeah, 100% of the time. All the time. But James, so you said definitely no PvP thing. Any PvE leaderboard climbing or anything like that?
No. The only thing I could even like vaguely, and this is like vaguely say is close, is like obviously a trillion billion people have played Elden Ring, but like of the percentage of that, it's definitely a small percentage that have done certain bosses or overall beat the game, and obviously that percentage like grows all the time. But I definitely like, for me personally, for being the only FromSoft game that I've beaten and done a majority of the bosses, and including like at one point in time like the two hardest, I get some personal satisfaction from that just for me, because it's such a, like, I adore that game. But like there's a boss in the game called General Radahn, who when the game came out was supposedly very difficult, and they eventually like made him easier because people were saying it was so difficult. And I remember beating him before the nerf, and I didn't think he was that difficult. I think it's like easily one of the coolest fights in the game. I mean, they all are, but that was cool. And then Millennia is the one that the game is probably most known for. She's like the goddess of rot, and she is a boss that is behind two secret areas. You go into one secret area that you have to like find, and then there's a secret area beyond that secret area that you also have to find, and then she's the final boss of that second secret area, and she is very, very difficult. And I beat her, and obviously I've beaten the game too, so. But yeah, that's probably like
Goddess of Rot. What is this, Remnant? Was it called the Rotten Remnant? I swear to God it was, but I could be wrong.
Maybe? I've led Remnant forever. I need to get into it again, but.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was. Apparently there's this thing called like Rot. It was the Root. They were the Root.
Rot was close. I was like, I don't think that's right because it was all like tree based. But yeah, Root makes sense.
Yeah. I was like, exactly like you said. It was close. It was in my head. I was like, it sounds familiar. Maybe I just have Remnant on the head because I just want Remnant from the Ashes too super badly. But it's coming. It is coming. Oh Lord, she coming. Sorry about that, everybody. I am apparently a combination of high energy and tired today, also known as loopy. So I mentioned at the beginning of this, obviously Redfall launched. We haven't talked about it. We didn't talk about it last week. And man, have either of you played it? Because apparently people do not like it.
I played 5 minutes, and the fact that it wasn't 60 FPS made me turn it off instantly.
Yeah.
And I've told our friend Jacob that I would definitely be down to play it once that mode drops, because I adore Arcane. I'm a huge fan of all 3 Dishonored games. I love Prey. Deathloop I bounced off of super hard, despite loving the aesthetic and like art design. But everything else that Arcane done in the modern era, I super, super, super love. And so Redfall being Arcane and a open world shooter, which I like in moderation, and vampire based and like cool vampire based, I was like super on board for. But yeah, it's I probably played more than 5 minutes. That's an exaggeration. I played maybe like 10 to 15, but I could not do it. There are some like YouTube personalities that I've watched that I follow like occasionally, and they seemed like they were having a decent time as like obviously like a co-op game with like a full team of 4, and just not taking it super seriously. So yeah, once it gets 60 FPS, I'll play it.
I think that last part is probably critical.
Sure,
like
which is
not taking it super
not
seriously.
Good for an Arcane game for their pedigree.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, I mean, from what I've seen, also is it's just a disappointment in the like, you compare it to obviously their pedigree, like you said, and the price of the game.
Yes,
and it falls flat. But like, maybe if this launched at like $30 MSRP instead of $70, it would be like, this is an okay $30 game. But instead, for like a full price $70 game, you're just like, wow, this feels rough, right?
Yeah,
like it's kind of the impression I got.
It's in a really not good place. And I mean, there's definitely like, I don't know if I want to say rumor or like confirmed thing or whatever, but where it basically seems like they had to make something that the higher-ups wanted, and that's what this ended up being, instead of making what they wanted, which was supposed to be Dishonored 3, like actually Dishonored 3. I've heard that going around, but, obviously who knows how much of that is true. And then you've always got the arguments of people being like, well, the developers are terrible, but then how much of it's actually the developers versus, like, again, higher-up management decisions. Because, like, I bet the developers didn't want to make a bad game. Like, nobody sets out to make something bad.
No one.
It just,
some people do, but not
sure.
If this is your like full blown career and you've passed interviews at this place, like that's not. Yeah, that's not
like,
you.
You're
right?
working at a studio
exactly.
well known for very engaging immersive sim style games, and obviously like just because you work at the studio doesn't mean those same people who made like Prey and whatever are still there. I think that's definitely a common thread that I myself fall for sometimes, where you look at the studio and you're like, oh, these are the exact same people. So like it's either impressive or disappointing when they make something that's good or bad. But obviously people come and go because it's just a workplace at the end of the day. So, but yeah, it's definitely very disappointing from Arcane.
I'm curious how it'll turn out if this is so. One of the things on our sheet, on our doc, is games that have made a comeback, right? Like, the pinnacle example is No Man's Sky,
which is great.
Right?
Love it.
Do you think? And obviously we have no knowledge. We're fucking idiots. We're spitballing. We're shooting in the wind. With your no knowledge, do you think that this will be a No Man's Sky type situation, or do you think this will be an Anthem, let's cut it and run type situation?
I think it'll be more like Anthem, because I think something like No Man's Sky being such an indie game with very, very dedicated people behind it, they don't have the overall like management and market forces to cut their losses, basically. Like No Man's Sky, because of people like Sean Murray, who was like in charge of the whole project. Exactly,
like, that
it totally
like,
was.
That's
and he
dude's
was
fucking life.
He acknowledged the mistakes, and they've worked to improve so much of it. And it still has some flaws, like at its core, because of like just the kind of game it is. But it is so much more than it ever was at launch. And I played it literally launch night. Like I stayed up till midnight and played it as soon as I went live. But I think Redfall being obviously like what was supposed to be like a pretty big thing for Microsoft, with Bethesda being like, their huge acquisition.
They marketed it a lot.
They really did.
How much they marketed it. Like, you should have looked at that.
I think between Microsoft and between Bethesda's higher ups, I don't think they're good. Like, they have to give Redfall support for like the season pass and stuff they've sold, but I do not think they will do anything beyond providing the bare minimum of services that they promised, which is unfortunate. But it would not surprise me if they dump it as soon as they can.
Yeah, I've heard very minimal about the game, but I did see an article that essentially the internal chatter was that they recognized some fundamental issues with Redfall early into its development and started to progressively, even before it launched, reallocate resources to the next project with a kind of like move on, go next kind of mentality.
So and then that's the like, if that's true, then like, why the fuck market it so aggressively? Like,
what? I mean,
like,
for
let
obvious
it
reasons.
shadow drop and die in an anonymity, right? Like,
no, they had to get their money back that they spent, on the investment. So
you're
you
only
might
going
as
to
well
get initial sales.
Talk it up as much as possible.
Like, you're only going to sell in the first like week.
I mean, Anthem got a ton of hype leading up to it because obviously it was BioWare, it was a new IP, it was different than they made before, and
so good. And
you can
so
still
lacking.
What blows my mind is you can still buy Anthem now. It goes on sale all the time.
Yeah,
and
but like
that game
$5
is completely dead, and yet it has not been pulled off of any marketplace to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't sell a like just defunct product. Like, it's ridiculous.
I mean, I think hot take for the $5 price tag it goes on sale for, it is worth that.
Oh, Anthem is totally worth $5. Go like 100%.
The
But
single
also
player,
that's we've already talked. That's
hours.
my game. Like, that is literally my ideal game is Anthem, aside from a lack of a meaningful end game progression system, right? Like, and so of course I'd say it's worth $5, but I mean, it's fun. It's got like not a BioWare campaign,
question,
right?
Have
like,
you all
still
played
fun.
it in the last year?
No.
So
I actually think I might have.
Speaking from experience as someone who did play it within the last year to a year and a half, I tried it like a couple times, and the majority of those times these servers were not working or were down or something along those lines, which is why I say, yes, the gameplay itself, sure, $5, whatever. But the fact that it doesn't work is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
they should not sell that, right? Because obviously the other thing, also EA title that goes on sale for like $5 or $6, and is the multiplayer is basically dead. Not entirely. It's obviously Titanfall 2, but Titanfall 2 is a fantastic campaign.
No, Titanfall 2 is so good. If I could just have that game in the first game combined.
Underrated gem. Does anyone else think the Titanfall 2 is an underrated gem? Everybody. It's not underrated. Everybody thinks Titanfall 2 is amazing. You don't need to ask if anyone thinks it's amazing because everybody fucking does. And by the way, Titanfall 2 is amazing. You should go play it if you haven't already. Sorry. I hate that fucking thread. It pops up every time it goes on sale.
Well, I mean, both can be true where it is it has minimal name recognition. So anytime it like pops up, people are like, hey, this is actually one of the good ones, buy it.
I don't think that's true anymore, though. Maybe the first time it went on sale for $6 like 3 years ago.
I mean, I'd say every time I see
anymore.
Stardew Valley, or even games like Hades go on sale, somebody is in the comments like, oh my God, this is such a good game. Like, you have no idea. You really got to pick this one up. It's like, yep, I figured when every review site ever is giving it a 9 to 10 out of 10.
The thing is about that, though, I don't disagree with you, obviously, Guy. I fully agree. But I do think we are so invested in the industry and the culture that
for sure.
Exactly.
like, I will mention games or just concepts or things in my day-to-day life, whether with my girlfriend or with like the kids that I work with or just whatever, and things to me that are insanely run-of-the-mill, part of like everyday like whatever consciousness, and they will have no clue what I'm talking about. Like, obviously video games are they still the largest media industry? Maybe
They have to be.
I'm pretty sure they still are. I still want to say something stupid, but like even with that, obviously not everybody is part of that, industry and culture. So I think there can be a case made for something like that we see as ubiquitous as Stardew or Hades or whatever, But I think if it's literally not Call of Duty or Fortnite, like there are so many people that do not know
yeah,
about
that's
it.
fair. No, I think you're definitely right. I think if anything, I'm griping about the way it's phrased. The does anyone else think, phrasing of it?
I mean, that's just there to drive engagement on both sides of the positive negative spectrum. That's literally all it is. It's made so people like you get all mad and then type up a response just for the engagement.
But I don't type up the response. Sometimes,
but you want to.
Rarely,
I know you do.
I'm assuming you all have done this at some point. I have typed up responses. The classic thing: type it up, select all, delete, back out.
Never.
It's the fucking internet. Fuck those people on the internet. I don't care shit about them. I'm not getting into a conversation with them. I mean, yeah, no, you're totally right. But and as a result, because I like. If someone would be like, hey, Titanfall 2 is on, like, obligatory Titanfall 2 is great. It's on sale for $6. Everyone should go play it. I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. But, like, it's does anyone else think that it's amazing? It's amazing. Sorry. Like I said, apparently I'm fucking tired and energetic. I'm just all kinds of fucking loopy today. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I got nothing. Oh, wait, there's one more thing that I saw today. Or recently, that I thought was kind of interesting and worth mentioning today to you all. I don't know. Maybe I'll mention it next week if I remember it.
Are we winding down? Is that what this is? Because I want to do
your brain is a wonder today.
I just wanted to do our thing we haven't done in a while. I want to see what y'all have been playing or doing recently.
Take it away, Packy.
Oh boy,
I've been moving. Let me think. Do I have? I literally minimized. I'm just going through my desktop. I'm like, which of you guys have I opened recently?
Have you done Against the Storm since they added the foxes, Packy?
No, I kind of hit. I think I'm going to go back to it probably a few months from now, because they keep rolling out updates and it'll be so different.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't played it since they added the fox race yet.
Yeah, I just hit kind of an endpoint where I didn't feel like I was experiencing new stuff with the new runs. I kind of run through everything that the game had to offer at that point.
I know they've added a bunch of events and stuff, and then obviously the new race. So yeah, I agree. In a few months, for sure.
It'll be one of the I with especially how it's structured. It'll be one where you can go back and play it more, and yeah, it'll be different. Like if you play it once every 3 months, each time you play it, it'll be different.
It'd be different. Yeah, for sure.
I've only played games that I've beaten previously. I went through. I can think of 2 distinct ones that I've played recently, and they are very low brain power. Where I went through and I finally got the last of the achievements that I didn't have in Hades. I have all but one of them now, and so I've like full beaten that game in anticipation of the second one coming out.
I still gotta do that.
It's very fun. I cannot recommend. Especially the achievements are just fun to do because they take you often through the lore. Except for the Skelly ones. Don't do the Skelly ones unless you just love pain. Which I got so close to getting all 3 of those statues. I don't think I'll end up getting them, but anyway. And then the other one was this is a game that truly tests how purist of a roguelike lover you are, which is Vampire Survivors, which is just the concept of a roguelike layered on top of more or less AFK combat. And I have pretty much full beaten that game at this point as well. I love watching TV and playing Vampire Survivors. It's so fucking good.
I feel you. I mean, that was not quite the same, but like I played Mighty Doom on my phone, and I played it while watching TV. Like I was literally just like watching TV and just like, single hand, single thumb. And like it wasn't a roguelite, but it did have like roguelike elements, and that like every level in the thing you got a new whatever power up thingy. And so obviously like depending on which weapon you had at the beginning and then what options you got as you did it, the roguelite. And it was just, it was very like, it was literally like your character auto shoots, you just have to move and dodge things, right? Like, which is great. Like watching TV and doing that, like that was fantastic.
So I feel you.
I'm assuming that's all you've been playing back and you're done then.
Yeah.
In that case, then myself, so mentioned Borderlands 3, beat the main story of Borderlands 3. Woo. It was quite a good game. I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I'm looking forward to playing the DLC in it. Thank you both for suggesting that. Like seriously, so it was very much a me game. Like, and it's so much better than 1 and 2. And so I'm really glad that I can play it. And then maybe sometime at some point, next time Tina's goes on sale, maybe I'll pick that up. But maybe not. Other than that, the raid for the WoW Dragonflight 10.1 patch dropped last week, and the raid for that opened yesterday. And so I'll actually when I hop off here, I'll be going to do that, which will be fun. Because I always love me some new content. And then, what was the other thing? Oh, I think I'm probably I might try and start Minecraft Legends, actually. Just to see how that is. Because having William on, it's not like a traditional RTS, but it is obviously like RTS elements. And so like having William on last week, kind of made me think about it. And yeah, I might go play that. That or Grounded is the other thing I might go back and revisit, because Grounded also just got like a big new update with like a infected brood mother, I think. Or is it infected Blackwood? I don't remember. But like, it just reminded me that like I had just gotten to the upper yard. Like we had just gotten there, and that was when we had fallen off. And I'm like, fuck, I feel like I have like at least 10 or 20 hours more of like stuff to do before I stopped playing it. And then like the new wasps and the new infected broodmother, like I feel like it's obviously even more. And so like there's a really good chance I go back and play Grounded again as well. That's me. What about yourself, Jamesy, old boy?
I've been playing a couple different things. The most significant is a game developed by a company called Triumph Studios, which I cannot remember what else they've done off the top of my head, and then published by Paradox, which Paradox is the company that makes all the big grand strategy games, so like Stellaris, Crusader Kings, Victoria, blah, blah, blah. They publish a ton of stuff also, but it's called Age of Wonders 4, and it is a fantasy 4X, so think like Civilization kind of game. But what's really, 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 really cool about it, especially as someone who likes world building, is it is extremely customizable in how you create your faction that you play as. So it comes with a ton of pre-built ones, but when you go into like a map, you pick your race, and it's got all the classic fantasy races like humans, elves, orcs, dwarves, halflings, goblins. There's toad people, mole people, rat people, and those races, like that'll be your faction's race, and they have like preset traits, but you can also change the traits. So if you want humans to be good at magic, you could take the elven traits and put those on the humans or whatever. And then you pick their culture, and right now there's 6 cultures. So there's like feudal, so there's just like, knights and lords and stuff. There's high, which is like classic elven style culture, so like arches and sunbeams and golden armor and that kind of stuff. There's like a barbarian one. There's one called dark, which is basically like evil empire, Sauron kind of looking stuff.
Cool. All right.
But all the races could be any of the cultures, and so that adds like some customizability there, because you could be like high goblins, so you're like, crazy light magic goblins, which is like usually something you don't get to see. And then after you pick those 2, you get to pick, like, make your leader, and the leader can be of the same race. It could be somebody different. Then you get to like make all the like customizability with that also, so they could be tall or short, have all kinds of hair, basically like a full character creator. But then what's really cool is after you do that, there are different tiers of spells in the game, and each tier and like each spell is part of a spell book called a tome. And so there's like Cryomancy Tome, there's like a Nature Magic one, and all these different ones. And the spells you get can basically enhance your units, but the way it works is like if you put on like flaming weapons onto your units, then they'll actually have flaming weapons in addition to the stat bonus too. And they stack. So by the end of it, if you get up to like tier 5 of all the spells, you'll have like goblins with angel wings and like golden skin, and they've got flaming weapons that also do poison damage. And there's just so much cool customizability. And like I said, it's not all just like stat changes, which like a ton of games have. It changes the unit models themselves, which is just super cool. I've been playing a lot of that. Did not expect it to be as good. I've played like some of the Age of Wonders games before. I played 3. And then the sci-fi spinoff they did, which was really cool too. This one is super cool, just for like how much flexibility there is and everything. And like I've not even seen like all the different spell books in the game yet because there's so many of them. So definitely recommend that. And it being a Paradox published game, at least it's going to have a ton of DLC and expand to a ton probably the next 2 years or so. So that'll be cool. Beyond that, I started playing XCOM 2 again for like my 10th playthrough because I love XCOM 2. And
I forget, have you played Midnight Suns?
Yes, I have not beaten it. I think it's good, but I much prefer XCOM 1 and 2. I think it's really, I think it's probably like the coolest superhero power fantasy of like a lot of games just because like the way it does it, but I'm not as good at it and my computer doesn't like it, so it doesn't run great for me, but it is really cool. I definitely recommend Midnight Suns. Jacob likes it a ton, being a huge comic person, but I think it's pretty cool. I need to beat it. But yeah, XCOM 2, fantastic. So good. I'm doing a modded playthrough right now and loving it.
Oh yeah, especially with modded playthrough. It's good.
Yeah. I was going to say the one more thing before I hand it off to you. I just want to talk about this other game. It's a tiny little indie game called Shadows of Doubt, and it is a completely procedurally generated detective game. So you're dropped into a procedurally generated like cyberpunk style city. It can be different sizes and have different like block layouts. And there's a murderer that could be any of like the procedurally generated characters, and they're all named, have different heights, weights, blood types, professions, literally a billion different things, and they're all modeled at the same time, and they all have individual homes in the apartment tower complexes modeled. It's literally like you just took randomly generated cyberpunk and you're a detective in that world and you're trying to solve the murder by just like actually finding clues and investigating and like sneaking around buildings and talking to people and following leads. And it's cool because you also don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. If you just want to go to the cafe and look at the job like postings, you can be a like cat burglar and break into apartments and steal valuables, or you can just be like a thug and humiliate people. I have not played a ton of it, but just the fact that it is completely procedural is very cool for a detective game. It's very indie, but it's very, very cool, and definitely recommend that also.
That is cool, yeah, especially for a detective style game.
Yeah, it's really cool.
As I say, what was the name of the first game you were talking about?
Age of Wonders 4.
Age of Wonders 4. As you're talking about it, I was gonna say like that really does just sound like a James game, right? Like,
it's really cool.
Definitely sounds like
I'm sure I'll run out of steam on it at some point when my creativity burns out. But I've been playing it with like some of my friends, and it's super super fun. So and also instead of having sorry, real quick, instead of having like Civ style battles too, where it's all just on like the world map, the battles are actually turn-based like RPG battles, which is really cool too. So like if you have an army of like archers and spearmen and you fight like a bunch of trolls, it'll go down into a battle map that is like made from that tile, and it'll be a turn-based like, actual battle. It's really cool.
On that note, I was going to say, as you're talking about it, the thing that was stuck out to me that I thought was, you were talking about how you basically combine traits, or like you combine and apply traits to units or whatever. And yeah, that is awesome that it actually affects it. What it made me think of is there's this board game called Small World. And I don't have Small World. I have Small World of Warcraft, of course. But it was it's like the entire premise of it is you basically have two sets of things, and one of them is, basically like a modifier, and then another is like your thing or whatever, right? And so like, it's fun. You just flip it and you end up with like, I don't fucking remember. It's been so long since I played it, but like, let's say like, I don't know. I don't even want to try, but that's what I thought of as you were talking about it. It was super fun, and it kind of just reminds me that it would be really great to have one of my friends who really loves board games on here, because I feel like, obviously there's a heavy overlap there in terms of stuff, and so that'd be fun to talk about. But yeah, that's all I got for today. So this is myself, Craig.
I think my internet is dying.
No, it's his.
Okay. Greg, your internet is fucked. We cannot. I can tell you're trying. Yeah, type in the text window. Episode's over. Thanks, everybody.